It is my very distinct pleasure. I had a chance to talk to this gentleman on the phone yesterday, and I found out he's mishpachah with me. And for those of you who don't speak Hebrew, it means a brother of the brethren. He's the owner and CEO of Personal Defense Solutions, an author, magazine columnist, a licensed psychologist, so if you're nuts, don't talk to him. A police firearms instructor, and a fellow Jew. So that means if we're both up here at the same time, we're going to get 4 opinions. My friend, my brother, Dr. Bruce Eimer.
You got a screw loose, just call Dr. Bruce. 1-800-I-AM-NUTS. Okay, so it's a pleasure to be here. I was really, really pleased that I was invited to add my 2 cents. So hopefully I can add at least 2 cents, if not a few more. What I want to talk about is a few things. First of all, I want to talk about the fact that as a clinical psychologist and as a human being, I believe that the first law of nature is self-preservation. So the first order of business in life is to keep safe from harm. And those people who fail at this, well, they're not going to pass their gene pool on. So it's natural for people who want to feel safe, right? Everybody wants to feel safe. But lots of people delude themselves into thinking that they're safe when they're not. You know, it's not going to happen to me. I don't need a gun. 7 rounds is enough in my magazine. Just let the government protect me. Well, the fact is that in order to legitimately feel safe, it's better to be safe. And in order to be safe, you got to keep safe. And that's what the Second Amendment is all about. It's not about hunting. It's not about shooting Bambi, as lots of liberals are prone to say. It's about keeping safe, keeping yourself safe, taking responsibility for your own safety and the safety of your loved ones, those under the mantle of your protection. You know, the first 10 amendments of the Bill of Rights were passed by both the Senate and the House of Representatives of the United States of America. The First Amendment, and that goes back a long time. The First Amendment says that Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of speech or the press or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances, to be safe. The Second Amendment, right? The Second Amendment, that's what we're all here about. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. To keep safe. The Fifth Amendment. No person shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. Nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. To be safe. The 10th Amendment, the 10th. The power is not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited to it by the states, to the states, are reserved to the states respectively, or to the people. The people. Those 10 amendments were ratified on December 15th, 1791. And they're the Bill of Rights. Is there anything unclear? Anything? Is there anything you don't understand? Is there any clarification needed? Our founding fathers wrote the First Amendment in order to guarantee the right to protest. They wrote the Second Amendment in order to protect the First Amendment. You know, way back in the days of our founding fathers, it was a common thing for men to have weapons, for women to have weapons, and for them to know how to use them. And colonial America needed militias in order to call up reserves to fight the British and other invaders who presented a common threat. You know, they couldn't do this. They couldn't call up militias unless the individual's right to keep and bear arms was respected and protected. For the love of God, the Second Amendment's not about hunting. The Second Amendment doesn't give you a right, it guarantees a right. And as Dr. Martin Luther King said, let freedom ring. We're here in Independence Park where the Liberty Bell is. Let freedom ring. The fact is that America's still a pretty great country. It's the greatest country in the world. There are too many places in the country that we live in where people have been relieved, of course, being a gentle word, of their right to defend themselves, to take care of themselves, to take care of their families. They're disarmed. You know, disarmed is a word that's not too far away from disabled. You know, victim disarmament means something. And as my brother, Pastor George Cook, and I talked about yesterday, victim disarmament and Joseph Goebbels go together. It was the first thing the Nazis did. It's the first thing any totalitarian regime does. It's the first thing that these small dictatorships that comprise the United Nations want to do in terms of the agreement to limit the ownership of small weapons, that small weapons treaty. The fact is that the smaller and the weaker are less able to stand up for their rights and to pursue life, liberty, and happiness when they are threatened by evil, bigger, and stronger predators. So is there a lot of crime going on out here in America today? Too much crime? I ask you, is there too much crime? Is it because there are too many guns on the street? Has New Jersey solved the violent crime problem and nobody there is allowed to have a gun unless they get a gun permit, ID card, purchases ID card? They certainly can't carry a gun. The RKBA in New Jersey doesn't exist. Is it a safer place? Does anybody want to go to Camden at night without a gun? Has New York solved the violent crime problem? How about Connecticut? How about Colorado most recently? Has Illinois? All right. How about Philadelphia? How about Texas? Okay, so let's look at some places that outlaw constitutional concealed carry. Does it lower violent crime? Does it work in Camden? Does it work in Trenton? Atlantic City? Chicago? Washington, D.C.? Anywhere? So what are the facts? I'm a clinical psychologist. I'm a scientist. It's a fact that I'm still practicing psychology, and I'll never be an expert, so I'll keep practicing. But it's a fact that we human beings are the same and different from one another. It's a fact that human beings are not born equal when it comes to size and strength. It's a fact that human beings are not equal when it comes to goodness and morality. Now, if you believe in God or even a higher power, then you can agree that God created humans, or a higher power created humans. But, hey folks, who here has heard of Sam Colt? Anybody? Raise your hand. Who's heard of Sam Colt? Well, Sam Colt made humans equal. So, to reference the old movie with Marilyn Monroe and forgot her partner there. Diamonds are a girl's best friend. You know, it was like a movie in the 40s. The fact is that diamonds are not a girl's best friend. It is a fact that a concealed handgun that the girl knows how to use is her best friend. It is a fact that those in political office who would limit the number of rounds that legally armed citizens can carry in their firearm would limit that girl's ability to defend herself against a 280-pound predator that's pumped up on adrenaline and drugs. a mother's ability to defend her child. Turn over. Who, I ask, should have the right to use deadly force to limit that mother's, that girl's ability to stay alive? Who? The government? The federal government? The state government? The municipal government? The liberal thought police? The liberal behavior experts? The well-protected politicians? How about the well-protected bodyguard Hollywood movie stars who make violent movies that desensitize those people out on the street to violence? As I mentioned, I'm a clinical psychologist, so I heal people who are hurt. I'm also a firearms instructor. I teach people how to shoot. I teach people how to defend themselves. I work with people who teach people how to defend themselves. I'm also a writer, so I think a lot, I talk a lot, speak a lot. You know what? For a long time, I thought liberal thinking was kind of like some psychiatric thought disorder from bizarro world where everything's opposite and reverse. What's good is bad, what's bad is good. If you saw the Woody Allen movie a long time ago, I forget the name of it, everything that we thought was good is bad, everything that we thought was bad is good. Now, I want to make something very, very clear. You got to take training in order to know what to do in a self-defense situation. You need to learn self-defense skills. You need to buy a gun. You need to learn how to use it. You need to learn how to use it safely. And you need to learn how to shoot straight. Because if you have a gun and you don't know how to use it under stress, when you're being attacked, what good is it? You know, the gun can be used against you if you can't hold on to it. And if you don't know how to shoot it effectively, you know, you don't want to hit the wrong person. So, here's a very important point. I hope that you're listening, Governor of New York, Cuomo, Governor of Connecticut, whatever your name is. The reason to not limit the capacity of magazines in semi-automatic firearms is because one never knows who you're up against or how many bullets it may take to stop that attacker, who's crazy and strong and pumped up on adrenaline and evil and crazy bad and big and on drugs and just plain crazy. You know, right now we're living in a Great Depression. I don't know if you know that, but if you look at the stats, there's just as many people unemployed, and there are a lot of people starving in this country of ours. Is it a viable solution for this government of ours to spend more money that it doesn't have? Is it a viable solution for this government to spend more money on non-essential projects such as road construction while they cut the numbers of police and border security? I don't think so. It's a fact that violent crime is committed by criminals, violent criminals with guns. And it's a fact that mass shootings in gun-free zones is a big problem. Is it logical to blame the problem on the result? That is, more guns in the possession of violent criminals and mentally deranged people? Is it logical to punish law-abiding citizens by taking our guns away? It is a fact that we have fewer crime fighters. They just dissolved the police force in Camden, New Jersey. We have more gridlock on the roads, more gridlock on the highways, and we have more gridlock in Washington, D.C. We have more law-abiding citizens with less ability to keep safe right now. 7-round magazines. Because in the wake of the Sandy Hook atrocity, several states passed more gun laws. That's right, right? And it's a fact that our government is doing everything that it can to build more dependence on government. Fewer police on the street, more gun crime. You know, things don't make sense anymore. Is there such a thing as a common sense gun law? Can there ever be such a thing? You know, George Washington was a patriot. He fought for America. And when he won the war, he refused to be king. He became president. He was a patriot. You know, it's a fact that Abraham Lincoln was born in humble beginnings. He was self-educated, self-motivated, intelligent, strong, and tough, and he became a president. He fought for America. He was a patriot. It's a fact that the New York City's police commissioner, Theodore Roosevelt, at the turn of the last century, turn of the 20th century, he was an adventurer. He knew the American West. He knew Africa. He hunted in Africa and other places. It's a fact that Abraham Lincoln, George Washington, President Teddy Roosevelt, they all were patriots. They weren't afraid to fight for America and to put their lives on the line for America. And they did. Teddy Roosevelt said, "Speak softly and carry a..." Right. That's a lesson we all need to remember now. Carry a big enough stick. Carry a big enough stick. It's a fact that Thomas Jefferson wasn't afraid to fight for America. He was a patriot. President Thomas Jefferson said, "A strong body makes the mind strong. And as to the species of exercise, I advise the gun. Let your gun, therefore, be your constant companion of your walks." Let your gun be your constant companion on your walks. You know, it's a fact that when you tote a license to carry firearms, you should recognize that you, and only you, are ultimately responsible for your own personal safety and the personal safety of those under the mantle of your protection. Only you're responsible. In the end, nobody cares. Take responsibility, folks. Nobody cares. Nemo curat. Nobody cares. Nemo curat. You know, our founding fathers were oath makers. They were oath makers and they were oath keepers. You know, it's a fact that the very first thing that's taken away from free men and women in totalitarian regimes is their right to keep and bear arms. Slaves were not allowed to own firearms. And those who hold political office today, as in the past, took an oath to protect the U.S. Constitution. Isn't that right? Right. Before they're sworn into office, as they're sworn into office. And those people today, some of those people today, want to eliminate private gun ownership. They're oath breakers. They're oath breakers. You know, if we're going to remain free in this country, as individuals and as a society, we must never allow anybody to take away our God-given rights. But always recognize, don't make a mistake about this, always recognize that when you exercise your rights, you have the responsibility to not infringe on the rights of innocent others. You have the responsibility to not infringe on the rights of innocent others. You know, I'm almost done. Gun-phobic people. There's a lot of people that are afraid of guns out there. I'm writing a book on that right now. Gun-phobic people say the world would be better off without guns in it. You know, the problem is that when the guns are taken away, only the law-abiding lose them. So more guns, more crime. Less guns in the hands of law-abiding citizens, more crime. Legally armed citizens are very seldom perpetrators. Legally armed citizens are very seldom perpetrators. It's a moral crime and a violation of the Constitution to use the rule of law enforced by the gun to violate that Constitution by forcing responsible law-abiding people to settle for less firepower than they should have. And it's a fact that guns give weaker people who are innocent and law-abiding a fighting chance. We must never cede the right to keep and bear arms. If we do, these rights are gone forever. These stakes are high. There can never be enough police around to save you from evildoers. You're on your own. We're on our own. When you only have seconds, the police are minutes away. When we only have seconds, the police are minutes away. So don't sacrifice your freedoms. Don't sacrifice any of your freedoms. This country was not built on people who were willing to just turn their head the other way and sacrifice their freedoms. And when you agree to give up one little snippet of your freedom, expect you'll be asked to give more. It's like the old story, invite that mouse for milk and cookies. Guns in responsible hands save lives. More guns, more lives saved. Thank you.